Hello everyone, it's Kev0012 here, and I just wanted to make a little rambling video kind of about like the state of MMOs, like MMORPGs, uh, and how I feel about how they are now, the direction they're going, and everything else. But I want to start off with kind of like a history of MMOs, like MMORPGs, and my personal experience, and kind of talk about where I started off when I first started playing MMORPGs and how what part they've played in my life over the years. And I just thought I would just sit down in front of the camera and just kind of share a little bit more about my personal experience. Anyways, I want to start off um, talking about kind of like a history. So, when I first started playing MMORPGs, now I've seen like World of Warcraft in stores and stuff, looked cool and stuff, but I didn't really think too much about it. They didn't have a computer to really play it on, for one, so didn't. It was like, oh well, it's cool. I can't really get into it right now. I'll just set this aside. So, anyways, my first experience with playing MMORPG was RuneScape, and I never played RuneScape Classic because we never had a computer at the time, and I couldn't afford to get my own computer or anything like that. But then we had a computer for a few years, and my dad just like, screw it, didn't worry about it after a while. But anyways, um, now I know many people probably start RuneScape because that's probably one of the best known MMORPGs, other than like WoW, which of course a lot of people heard of. But what happened, how I got into RuneScape, is I just went over next door to my friend's house, and he was sitting down at the computer, and I seen him playing this game, and I was like, "What's this? What are you playing?" And it's like, "Oh, it's this game this online game called RuneScape," and I was like, did RuneScape? I never really seen any online games. Like, I played a few games online, like Need for Speed and Unreal Tournament, but I had not really seen any MMORPGs at this time. And, well, I was older than my friend, but he apparently had found it through some of his friends or whatever, something like that. I'm not sure. And I seen him. He was playing this game, and he was standing around in the church and Lumbridge, just killing people and collecting their bones. And I kind of laughed at him. It's like, this game doesn't look that good. It looks kind of, I don't know. It looks kind of crappy with the graphics and stuff. I kind of, joked about it with him or whatever. And but I still kept watching him because I was somehow still managing to get some kind of interest. I'm not sure what was intriguing me after I made fun of it. And he was like, "You should really give this a try." So I was like, okay, I don't see me really getting into it. But he let me play his character for a little bit and just kind of showed him the game, and I was like, oh, I guess this could be all right. And so I had another friend across the street because I did not have my own computer at the time. And of course, my friend was my one friend, my next door neighbor. He was playing the game. I was like, all right, I'll go across the street. I'll see if my neighbor will let me use their computer, and I'll start an account, and I'll play with you. So I went across the street, asked them to use the computer, and they were nice people. They were like, yeah, sure, go ahead. We're not using it right now. So I would go over there to, time to time, but before I get into him myself, I started up an account on RuneScape. Now, I went into this not expecting anything from it. I expected to maybe put like 10 minutes, maybe an hour into it and be like, oh, I'm not gonna like this. It didn't look that great. And I created an account and started my character. I logged in for the first time and Tutorial Island. Now, this was back when Tutorial Island was a thing. It still exists in the game today, but there's a different tutorial, and you don't go to Tutorial Island anymore. Unless you change this, and I just don't know, because it's been a little while since I played it. But anyways, moving on. I played for the tutorial, and, I was having fun. It was like, well, this isn't, it's not too bad. So we get the tutorial, and I remember finishing it and porting into Lumbridge for the first time. I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I just walked around, talked to some of the NPCs. I was like, this gives me a quest. And he's like, I think it was the Restless Ghost quest or whatever. It's like, okay, let's try this out. I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. I finished the quest. This wasn't that long. And I was like, oh, well, that was interesting. So I was like, hey, let's explore a little bit, because I had no idea what to do at the time. So I ended up heading south of Lumbridge and ended up in one of the first mining sites that you see in the game. Where, there's a few copper rocks, a few tin rocks or wherever, and noticed them, and it's like, I tried to mine them, and it's like, oh crap, I don't have a pick. But luckily, I think there's a guy there that gives you a pick, so I get the pick from him, and I started mining, and next thing I knew, I was spending hours, kind of in the mining, and then realized you can also make your own gear through smithing, and I was like, well, this is kind of cool. I don't know what it was that intrigued me, but I got into it, and I went back at the Lumbridge, smith my bars, and then I realized, well, they don't have an anvil there. So I got a bunch of bronze bars, put them in my bank, and then I was told, I thought I'd explore, and I think I asked some people, and they said to hit the Varrock. So I ended up hitting up the Varrock, and of course this wasn't all in one gaming session, I don't think. Before I continued, occasionally, I wouldn't be able to go to across the street to my friend's house, so I'd head down to the library, and they had computers there. Now your maximum amount of time was like half an hour, but every now and then, if it wasn't that busy, you'd be able to sit on there for, a couple hours. So I'd take my bike, go down to the library, and I would ask to go on the computer, and I would log straight on the RuneScape and start playing. And I was putting a lot of hours into the game at this point. Eventually, but anyways, back to going to Varrock. I went there, and I smithed my first set of bronze gear. I'd had like a long sword and like chain body or something, the basic stuff, and just get my first set of gear. Eventually, I picked up some more quests, and I would do some different quests, and I was starting to really get into this game. Like, from the surface, RuneScape doesn't look that appealing. Now, nowadays, it still doesn't look that appealing, but it looks better, right? But back then, it was really poor Java graphics. But, considering Java, that was actually pretty good for what Java is capable of. But anyways, I kept playing it, and then there was things like, I eventually seen these people wearing like colorful boots or like the combat boots. I asked about that, and there was what is it? The Fortress of Security or something like that. Stronghold of Security. Went down there. Found out you go down there and to get the boots. So I went down through there. I was scared. I didn't know because there's actually some high level monster stuff. I did make it through, got my first set of combat boots, and that was like really fun. So I did end up playing RuneScape for quite some time. Eventually, I had another friend that lived in town, and he talked about this game, World of Warcraft. Now, World of Warcraft, I had seen prior to playing RuneScape, but I didn't think too much about it. But he reminded me of it. I was like, oh, really? What's World of Warcraft great? Like, he said it was pretty great. Now, he was talking about, like, the combat and stuff, and he had talked about, like, how you can only do, like, about the professions, but you can only do two, and I was like, why can you only do two? Why can't I do as many as one? It's like, well, you can, but you have to switch them out. It's like, well, this game doesn't sound that great. You know, just different things like that didn't really excite me. But one time he had me on Skype. Now I think this was once I moved out to Alberta. I did, or what was it? I don't know how. What it was. He and I'm talking about it and stuff. And he did manage to show me it. I can't remember if this is before. I think this was after we moved to Alberta. And he showed me it. And I was like, this game looks pretty good. He had this mountain stuff and he was riding around and he was like, you know, showing me the areas and showing me the combat and stuff. I was like, oh, this doesn't look too bad. So, anyways, I went and had my first job. I saved a ton of money. I saved up well over $800, and I bought my first laptop. And I was asking Mmos, like, can this laptop handle World of Warcraft or whatever? I was talking about different laptops and stuff, and this was, I knew quite a bit about PCs, but I, you know, they kind of didn't think about it, and I thought, oh, a laptop would be great. My brother had a laptop, and ended up getting, anyways, without rambling on too much, I did get that, and I got World of Warcraft when I got my computer, and let's just say, when I first logged on to World of Warcraft, I was like, wow, this is not RuneScape no more. This game is pretty legit. And just starting off, I was going to make a Tauren, but then I was looking for the classes. I was really wanted to be a rogue. And okay, I wanted to be on Horde. So I, because my friend was on Horde, he played a Night Elf. Not Night Elf, Blood Elf. I'm sorry, apologize for that. And, see, this was when Burning Crusade had been out for, you know, quite some time and never, you know, got to get into it back when Vanilla was around. But it wasn't until Wrath of Lich King had just released. So, anyways, without rambling too much on about that, I decided to make Undead. I was also considering Orc, but the Undead just happened to appeal to me more. So I created my first rogue, and I started off, went through the starting area, and I got all the way through to Undercity and stuff, and I explored, and just did all these quests and stuff, and I remember going to, was it Eastern Plaguelands, I think is right past the Bulwark. I was like, went into that area and died and then realized, okay, these, my friend told me, Scald characters, monsters, you don't want to fight them because they're way stronger than you. That's why their level doesn't show up, so I realized I couldn't go there. Anyways, I got playing for some time, and I did a lot of exploring. I did go to Northrend, my first time at, level 14, right after I got out of the Undead starting area. I went over there because, oh, look at these Zeppelins, and I went there and I did a little bit of exploring and realized, oh, this high level area, can't do it, so I just continued playing, and I remember meeting a few people on the game. This guy was like, hey, let me run you through this dungeon. So I remember he went to Orgrimmar with him. And when I first saw Orgrimmar for my first time, it's like, damn, this city is huge. Like, Undercity is big, and then Orgrimmar is just way open and way spread out and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is actually pretty exciting. And it was Rage of Fire Cavern? I forget the exact name of it. I still play World of Warcraft from time to time, but I kind of forget the name. If I pronounced it right. I hope I pronounced it right. If not, I apologize. But he ended up running me through there. And it's like, wow, dungeons are great. Cool, I got all this green gear. And I felt like I was the ultimate badass at that point. It was at that point, it's like, wow, I got all this nice gear now. And I felt like I could take on anything. It was fun. I would put hours upon hours in the World of Warcraft for quite some time. And I get to level 40. Now my friends was like, oh, you should get to level 80. But I didn't want to. I knew I could get level 80, but I'd like to explore because there was all this world that I hadn't seen. Like, I would just go and ride my mount for hours, just going around different areas. I ended up in Alliance area eventually. The shores or whatever down wherever it is. Past the Goldshire area, somewhere over there. I'm trying to think what the name of the shores there are. But I ended up there and I seen Alliance characters, and actually, I was surprised that they weren't all trying to kill me. So, So, anyways, I did eventually level up, and I put quite a few hours in the World of Warcraft. But that would be a different video if I went to go totally in the World of Warcraft. But then I did play a few other games over the years. Played things like Ion, I really loved that. And then Terra. And shoot, I remember when Warhammer was around, when the online was around. I played that for a little bit. But, eventually I realized my laptop was crap. Like, I couldn't even do raids on my laptop. And it was at that point that I stopped playing World of Warcraft because I realized I couldn't do it. And I did eventually get a better PC. I got one for Christmas and I'm upgrading it from a few different parts in it because overall it was kind of crappy when I first got it, but then I upgraded it. I got back into World of Warcraft. And then I tried to go back into Warhammer, but it was just shut down. But luckily, private server just opened for Warhammer, just starting off, and Mythic wants nothing to do with the game no more, so we're like, hey, who gives a shit, just go, if someone wants to take it over, they can do it. I got just back into that recently, and whatnot, and Final Fantasy 14, that one's another one I really love, but I just can't currently afford to keep playing it. But I want to just want to move on, let's zoom ahead to now and what I think of MMORPGs now, and it's not like it used to be. Like, I used to put hours upon hours, and then eventually I got bored. And then, I played other games like League of Legends, and played them for a bit, and I had fun, played that, addicted to that for quite some time. But now, when I think about it, MMORPGs, they've really, even World of Warcraft is kind of died off over the years. And it's hard with so an abundance of MMORPGs there are now. It's like, it's pretty much impossible to have a good pay-to-play model. The only two pay-to-play games, I think there's only two, and that's World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14. There could be more. I'm not sure about any other ones that actually North America has. I'm sure Korea or Japan or whatever probably has some. Mostly, it seems Korea has a lot of their own MMORPGs, but a lot of it's gone free to play. And with the the way the economy is, it's hard to afford to play MMOs like I used to. So just recently been playing the was it Return of Reckoning. It's a private server for Warhammer. I've been actually kind of enjoying that because it's exactly to a T like the classic game, so it feels like the game never really died out, just kind of shut down for a little bit and opened back up. It feels like you're doing the same thing. It was kind of cool. And there's a few other games I play here and there, and for MMOs, and Overwatch. I really wanted to get that. Overwatch it looks really cool, and I want to play the new Doom, but I can't afford that. But anyways, that's a different topic, so I'm not gonna ramble on. But where do I see MMOs going from here? Well, with the state of World of Warcraft, I know Blizzard won't necessarily just let die out, but I think even World of Warcraft is eventually going to have to go free to play, and Final Fantasy 14 might eventually have to, and that's kind of how it's going. And I'm not against free to play as long as it's done right. If they're not freaking milking the game and freaking making it so you feel like you have to pay pay for different stuff just to get anywhere. It's not a big deal, but it's interesting how things have gone. How I used to I just wanted to talk about this because just thinking back to how many hours I've sunk into MMORPGs over the years is just insane to think. And now it's kind of almost sad because I don't really put that much time in anymore. I can't say they're not fun. It's just getting into them and staying into them. And of course, now I have a Twitch stream. I haven't been on that for a few days, but it's hard to just stream anything like World of Warcraft or League of Legends or any of the MMO, style games because so many people are doing them, and so I get really addicted in the Dark Souls series. It's funny to get those games when they first came out. Like, I remember getting Demon Souls when that first came out, and I didn't really get into it. But some weird reason I start playing those. So I haven't had the time to put into a lot of online games, and it's a shame to think, look back on how things were. And I will never forget RuneScape. Even though I don't play it a whole lot anymore, I can't look at it and say, oh, that game's crap. Because that's what got me started into massive multi-online role-playing games. That got me into it. If it wasn't for RuneScape, I probably never would have played World of Warcraft. Probably would have never played Ion. I probably would have never played WildStar. Not really worried about like WildStar, but probably would have never played Elder Scrolls Online or Terra or Final Fantasy 14 or any of the MMORPGs if it wasn't for RuneScape. And a lot of people tend to forget that they started with RuneScape. Some people were more fortunate to have the money or their parents had the money to pay for World of Warcraft. But there's a lot of history of that game alone, and World of Warcraft has a lot of history. And then there was EverQuest. I never really got into EverQuest, but a lot of people played that for quite a few years. And just seeing where all these games have gone, and kind of does sadden me that Blizzard's kind of run out of ideas. They've also made it too casual. Like, even back when Lore After the Lich King came out, the difficulty, the challenge was still there, and slowly over time, by the end of After the Lich King, things were getting easier and easier. And just thinking about the way things used to be, it's insane to think of how much these games have changed over the years. It'll be a sad day when World of Warcraft shuts down, if it ever, it might not be for a while. It won't be tomorrow, obviously, because Blizzard's making way too much money. If they did want to flip the switch off tomorrow, they could, but I don't see it happening. Just to think, though, that these games have been around this long. Like, World of Warcraft alone has been around, 11 years now? Is it 11? Or is it going on 12 now? I know it's definitely like 11 years. And to see where that has hit over the years, just first logging in as that level 1 rogue, and then level up. Now my guy's sitting in my garrison stuck at 91 because I honestly haven't been feeling like playing in a while. I think I still have game time, but I just haven't really, felt like it in a while. But just looking back and seeing how it used to be, I just want to make a video just to kind of talk about just to think about, because I was just thinking about MMORPGs and just the many years I put into it. It's hard to forget. And just knowing I don't play them as much as I used to is kind of sad, but at the same time, like, I moved on. And I can never forget, though, how fun it used to be. And sometimes I almost wish I could go back to that time that I first logged into those games for the first time, when they were new and exciting to me. And now it's another game. All these MMOs coming out now, it's another game, it's another game, it's another game, it's another game, just continuing. Like, all these games, they're like, oh, the new World of Warcraft killer. And everyone's like, wow, this game's amazing. And then you see it's just another MMO. Doesn't matter what you do with the combat. Doesn't matter how the quests and stuff are done. They still end up being the same thing, where it's like, kill X, collect X, bring him back, blah, 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 continue quest. And the only reason I think that even would say Final Fantasy XIV is such a competitor for World of Warcraft is not only does it have a really good campaign in my opinion, the graphics are so nice, they're pretty, has good sounds, and the combat's really fun, and the quests are really fun, and it's got a nice soundtrack and stuff, and also the fact that it's across multiple platforms, PC, PS3, and PS4, and that's another reason about MMORPGs not doing it well, is the fact that most of them are PC only. So you're leaving out this massive chunk of people that literally cannot play because they either don't want a PC, or the PC's not strong enough, or they believe that only gaming should be done on console, just stuff like that. And that's why Final Fantasy XIV does so well. But then you have games like Elder Scrolls Online. Now it had its own problems, like instancing off all characters from each other because of the mega server, which they thought at first glance it seemed like a good idea, didn't really work. But instancing people from each other and just stuff like that. But then another thing is, like, with games like that, or even Defiance, or when they have the PC edition or the PC version, and then they have PS4 and then Xbox, all being separated is what kills the games, because the community can't play together. And that's why games like Final Fantasy XIV does so well, because cross-platform. And I know it's harder, like when a game is on multiple platforms, when it's on like PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, then it's a little bit harder because they gotta try to talk Sony and Microsoft working together, and that's why some of these games fail. Then there's games like Rocket League that are spread out across different, or connect all together. And But the thing is, this is how I think MMORPGs kind of the direction they need to go in to keep games going. Cross platform needs to become a thing. The servers need to intertwine. You can't leave PC, PS4, and Xbox One. You can't have them cut apart are in the three different sections. You have to bring them together. Because this is how only way that online games can really thrive now. Like, yeah, for games like World of Warcraft are PC only, and it's been around quite some years, but it's starting to die, and they're gonna have to go free to play, and you know, and with any future MMORPGs are going to, they're gonna have to be bringing them out to other platforms, because yeah, some of them are on other platforms. Like I played Onigiri, but that's on PC. That's on PC and PS3. I think it's on PS4. Yeah, and PS4. I'm pretty sure it's PS4. Uh, but the problem is the servers aren't interconnected, which the game doesn't have a big population to begin with. But companies are going to need to realize that you're going to have to connect to the platforms together to keep them going. And that's the only reason that's one of the reasons that Final Fantasy 14 is so successful, because console and PC can play together because they have a bigger player base, because you're not excluding anyone except for Xbox. But you know, yeah, I kind of understand. But they didn't bring in the Xbox because it's too hard to talk to Microsoft and getting them to want to work with them. They don't want to keep have three different platforms on their own different servers. They want to keep them together. So that's why Final Fantasy 14 is doing so well, and that's why Final Fantasy 11 did so well, is because you could also play in PS2, not just PC. Now the PS2 servers shut down. I believe it's still going to PC, but you know what I mean, right? And that's kind of how, well, the way I look at MMORPGs nowadays, and what they have to do to succeed. I don't want to see games like World of Warcraft shut down. I don't want to see RuneScape shut down. I don't want to see, any of these MMORPGs shut down. Or at least the good ones. There's the crappy MMORPGs that don't deserve to keep going because the developers just don't freaking care. Like, you got people like Nexon that just freaking got a big fucking pile on MMORPGs. Oh, this one's dying, let's bring out a new one. Oh, this one's dying, bring out a new one. This one's dying, bring out a new one. This one's dying, bring out a new one. What they should do is have one game, focus on it, put the hours into it, keep the content coming out. Because unless you keep the content coming, people aren't going to keep playing your game. But that's just kind of a little rambling on about MMORPGs. Just how I feel, my past with them, what I feel about now and whatnot. Anyways, this has been a long video. It's, Jesus, already over 33 minutes. It might be 35 by the time I finish this, so let's try to finish it now. Anyways, that is just my thoughts. This has been Kevster012, and I did mention my Twitch stream. If you want to check it out, the link will be down in the description. If you like this video, well, feel free to thumbs up, to comment about your experience with MMORPGs, how you feel, where you see MMORPGs are going. And if you want to see more content like this, even more rambling videos, or you like my other gaming videos or anything like that, feel free to subscribe. And anyways, this has been Kevster012, and have a great